everyone, welcome to Village Youth. My name is Kara and I work with the youth at our Langley South location. We are so glad that you were able to join us today. Now, I'm going to tell you about one of my very best friends. When we were in middle school, we did crazy things. We would go to youth group together every single week. And that's where we had originally gotten to know each other. And we would love to go shopping and we would buy matching outfits. And then when we'd come to youth group, we'd show up wearing these matching outfits. And we thought it was the best thing ever to try and convince everyone else that, oh, we just happened to show up wearing exactly the same thing and our shoes are matching and our socks are matching and oh my goodness, we're just that good of friends. We had these matching friendship necklaces that would conjoin together and we would go in a photo booth. I remember having so many sleepovers at each other's house, giggling about all kinds of things. We would show up to youth group and play different tricks and have all kinds of mischievous things up our sleeves. We understood the way the other thought. And we were always on the lookout for something just hilarious and dumb to do together. We got each other. She was my best friend and everybody knew it. Here's my question for you, and I want you to turn to the people around you and discuss this question with them. If you're watching online and don't have anyone next to you, you can feel free to jot down your answer and feel free to share it with someone you trust later. But my question for you is, who is one of your closest friends and why are they a good friend? We are created for relationships and we know that. We're not created to go at it alone. This is week 1 in our series called The Struggle is Relational, where we're diving into all things dating and sex and relationships. But first and foremost, we recognize that the common denominator in all of these things is that it starts with us, who we are. Your relationship with yourself is what defines you. This lays the foundation for any romantic relationship or even a friendship that you might enter into. And so today we're talking about singleness as a teenager, but even more specifically, we're talking about our friendships. And so the Bible says in Ecclesiastes 4:9-10, it says this: 2 people are better off than one, for they can help each other succeed. If one person falls, the other can reach out and help. But someone who falls alone is in real trouble. There's this saying that we are the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. Have you heard that? In other words, you are basically the 5 people that you're around the most. We become the people that we are surrounded by. So I want you to think for a minute. Take a moment. Who are the 5 people that you would spend the most time with? Just think about them in your head. Who would they be? Do you think it's true? Do you think you ever become the people you're around? I think there's some truth to it. It's definitely been true in my life. I don't know about you, but there's been times in my life where thinking about that idea of the people you're around is who you become, it kind of scares me a little bit. And deep down, I knew that the people I was choosing to be around were not necessarily the right people that I should be spending time with. And I, sure as anything, did not want my parents to find out about that. Particularly when I was in middle school, I had these friends and they were a little bit crazy. The teacher would leave the room and they would take literally all of the desks, all of the chairs, they would pile it in front of the door. They would make this blockade in front of the door with all the desks in the classroom. And the teacher would come back to open the door and be totally locked out of their room while all of the students were inside the classroom. It was just so ridiculous. They were not the type of people that I should have been spending my time with. In Proverbs 13:20, it says, "Walk with the wise and become wise, associate with fools and get in trouble." And I had these friends in middle school who were bound for trouble, and I was just along for the ride. And so, if all of this is true, we want to think intentionally about who we're placing around us, who's close to us, because relationships matter. The Bible is full of examples of people who modeled what it means to be in a relationship. There's so many iconic duos in the Bible: Adam and Eve, David and Jonathan, Ruth and Naomi, Paul and Silas. Even God, there's the Trinity, Father, Son, Holy Spirit. These are different elements of God in relationship with each other. And as I said, Ecclesiastes says, 2 people are better off than one. They can help each other succeed. And we know this. You've probably experienced this in your life. It's not a foreign thing. Most of us, all of us, long to have people to do life with. We want to be known. We want that like best friend. But we also want to be cautious because we don't just want anyone along on this journey with us, right? Walk with the wise, become wise. Associate with fools and get in trouble. Who we choose to have relationships with has an impact on us, and we have an impact on them. Relationships matter. And yet, people can be challenging if we're honest. You know when someone just really annoys you? My younger brother, when we were growing up, he would drive me crazy. He was wild. He had this one thing where he collected bouncy balls, okay? So he had this massive tub, like bin of bouncy balls. And what he would do is like probably literally maybe 200, 250, I don't know. He would take them upstairs to the second floor in our house and he would stand on the ledge of the bathtub, close like the shower curtain, and he would dump this entire bin of bouncy balls into the bathtub, and they would just like bounce off the walls, off the floor, everywhere. They would bounce. And anywhere in the house, it made it sound like thunder was like rumbling through because of the way it would echo. It made such a loud noise. And everyone in our house, it would drive us crazy because we're like, what is he doing up there? We're trying to do other things. And here he was making this massive ruckus all around. I don't know about you, the people that annoy you. Maybe they're like the people who yell out the answers in class. Maybe it's like your younger brother who always gets what they want. Maybe it's someone who pushes to the front of the line and they know exactly how to push your buttons to drive you crazy. There's people in life that we like click with, and sometimes there's those people who just like rub us the wrong way. We can experience sometimes fallout with friends, or people don't live up to their word or our expectations, and we can fail other people too. We experience brokenness in relationships, but even those ones still matter. Sometimes it can be hard to navigate certain friendships. 2 things for you to hear. First, God did not want it for it to be this hard. When Adam and Eve ate of the fruit, it wasn't just their relationship with God that experienced separation. It also impacted like their relationship with each other, with other humans, and all future relationships to come. That's a pretty big oops. We experience hard friendships, hard relationships, and even loneliness, like all because of sin. I also want you to hear this, that not everyone actually needs to be your best friend. People can and will hurt you. This doesn't mean we don't ever make friends, but it does mean that when it happens, we shouldn't be super surprised. If we're thinking intentionally about, you remember those 5 that we're surrounded by, then we actually don't need to have everyone as our best friend. I think sometimes we're so locked into like the best friend idea, but it's just bogus. You can have more than one close friend, and that's totally okay. But you also don't need to have like one best friend either. The desire for a BFF comes out of like a desire to be known, to be seen, to belong. And when we have a best friend, often that comes. It's a good feeling. We get to be known. We get to have a close relationship, close friendship with people. And we all long for intimate relationships, close relationships. But as we are with people, those relationships will never be perfect. They can never completely satisfy us. As followers of Jesus, we can take hope then that we are never truly actually alone. In Deuteronomy 31:8, it says, "Do not be afraid or discouraged, for the Lord will personally go ahead of you. He will be with you. He will never fail you nor abandon you." Jesus promises to never leave us. Just a couple days ago, I decided I really wanted an Oreo McFlurry. So we went to the McDonald's close by, and you know what happened? Classic. Ice cream machine not working. And I was like, oh, that is such a disappointment. I wanted this McFlurry. So I thought, you know what, we need to go to another McDonald's. So we drive to the next McDonald's, get the McFlurry, and the friend that I'm with, they wanted like a caramel sundae. Great. So now I'm holding these 2 on my lap as we're driving. And we're going. And it was kind of dark out at this point. So all of a sudden I start to feel like that my lap is a little bit warm. And I was like, this is really weird. I don't know why my lap feels warm. And then I realized my hand is warm. And I quickly realized that this caramel sundae, it was no longer just in the cup. It was now like oozing out of the cup. I think the lid was on wrong, but it was oozing out of it and like onto my pants and onto my jacket. It was oozing out onto every surface. And so I was like, we just need to stop the car. I need to get out of the car. And so we stop and I put the sundae down and we get out of the car. But in the process of like putting it down and getting out, I got caramel sauce on my jacket, on my pants, in my hair, on the car mats. I got it on a gift that I had right there. I got it all over the handle of the car because I was just trying to get out as fast as I could. It was on my shoes. There was caramel sauce literally everywhere. And then I was trying to like clean it all up. It had oozed onto every surface. And I wonder if like the same can be true about our relationship with Jesus. What if our relationship with him was like at the center of everything we did so that it oozed out onto all the other areas of our life, onto all the relationships in our life? What if it, clings onto everywhere you go, just like with this caramel sauce that was a disaster? We begin to see that as we have a healthy life and relationships, not just because we're good at friendships or we know how to be a best friend, but instead because we have this deep personal relationship with Jesus, where we're known deeply and intimately. We know that he loves us so that we don't have to then like go and seek affirmation from others. He becomes our source. And no matter how alone you might feel, you are in his hands. At the end of the day, the lie you could hear out of this lesson is like, you need to have a close friend. Or maybe like, you need to have matching friendship bracelets with 5 people. No, not true. That's not the point. Friendship is not actually the goal. In this series, we're talking about dating relationships, and dating isn't even the goal. Getting married someday isn't even the goal. None of these things will actually solve our problems, our loneliness, or our desire to be known. The goal is to know Jesus, to know him intimately in our friendships, in our dating, in our breakups, in our, someday our marriage, because he is this perfect example, and he promises to be with us always regardless of our relationship status. In this series, we're going to continue diving into what it means to have relationships with others that honor God. Thanks for tuning in today. We're going to spend some time, if you're with your small group, take some time to discuss the questions together and have a conversation with this. I'd encourage you to ask some questions to your small group leader. If you're watching this online or by yourself somewhere, I'd encourage you to take some time, think about their questions, jot down your answers and your responses, and then find someone you trust and take some time to chat about it with them. Have a great conversation about it. But thank you for joining us, and we will see you next time.